Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October the 14th, 2023. Hope this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. The day is moving along pretty well. I started up. I was a little bit of a late rise, which for me is like around 8:30. Someone was like up. I was like, oh shit. But was able to get my laundry done. Got some donuts in me, so we can go ahead and talk about the food corner. I got a blueberry ice donut, which was very yummy. I gotta say, they're kind of taking the running for me lately for best blueberry donut. The blueberry cake donut is good. It's just very dense. You know what I mean? But then I also got a sticky bun, and then I got a Halloween sprinkled iced donut, which was really good. So that was a dub, and I washed it down with some whole chocolate milk. And then let's see here. Other than that, there's not much else to really report. Let's see here. Actually, I think I just want to go ahead and just get right into it today. So yeah, let's just go straight into the news. From Reuters. France raises alert level to highest after teacher killed in Islamist attack. Let's see here. A 20-year-old man fatally stabbed a teacher and gravely wounded two other people in an attack at a school in northern France, in the northern France city of Arras on Friday, that President Emmanuel Macron condemned as barbaric Islamic terrorism. Which I always hate when politicians want to do this little fucking combination together here. I do feel like it just drudges up these bad connotations and thoughts that they use later to just say, hey, this is why you can't come to school with a burqa. This is why, you can't have your style of swimwear because it's going to make people uncomfortable. It's like, what do you mean my culture is going to make you uncomfortable? That shit just is fucking funky and it's weird. And I always hate how they tee this shit up when you could just call it what it is. It's just terrorism. It's just bad shit that someone did. And they do try to kind of make connections to what's going on in Israel and Palestine right now. We can read it here. Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin said France was now in its highest state of alert and that the Arras attack bore a link to events in the Middle East, where Israel is conducting a military offensive to root out Hamas fighters after their deadly rampage. Which is like, okay, but when you get into it, this guy was more or less someone who, has a history of doing this kind of shit, being violent. And it seems like you guys lost track of him. And, yes, he has his own religious beliefs and he did his own fucking terrorist act here. It's fucked up. But, like, I don't think there's any ties between this man and Hamas. You just wanted to say that on fucking camera. I hate that shit. You don't have to do that. Like, this is already a bad thing. You don't have to, like, stir the pot and make it something else so like you can like clout surf fucking more grief or pain or anger. It's like, it's fucking gross, and I hate when politicians do this shit. Visiting the attacks, Macron paid respects to the dead teacher, Dominique Bernard, whose body still lay under a cover surrounded by a pool of blood. Wow, he really just wanted to soak this up, huh? He really put a biscuit on it. He stepped in and undoubtedly saved a lot of lives himself, Macron said. Our choice is made not to give in to terror, not to let anything divide us. All right, cool. Yes. The suspect, identified by prosecutors as Mohammed M., who has been arrested, was a former student of the Lycée Gambetta High School, where the attack happened. A police source said one of the attacker's brothers was also detained. The investigation was handed to the anti-terrorism prosecutor's office. Let's see. The attacker was on a state watch list of people known as a potential security risk. The police said the fiche S contains thousands of names and only a small number are actively monitored. Which, it's funny to just, kind of see this, but then know, like, in the same situation. And I will, obviously give France credit here. At least they have, better gun laws here, and it's, different kind of, violence, whatever. But it's the same kind of thing of like, well, yeah, you can have the same kind of monitoring, and sadly, this shit's still gonna happen. But I mean, granted, you do see that the scale is just so much smaller when you take out a gun. In this situation, he wounded two others. but some people were able to get away, things of that nature. And he was, obviously a lot easier to apprehend because he just had a knife. Let's see here. They do go on to reference another situation that took place in 2020 with a teacher, Samuel Patty, who was beheaded by a Chechen teenager. Also, it is said that Muhammad M was a Russian Chechen, or French media has also said he was a English, like a Russian English, which is like I guess a specific area, group, sect of people in that area. Let's see here. But yeah, back to 2020. A teacher, Samuel Patty, was beheaded by a Chechen teenager who wanted to avenge the use of cartoons mocking the Prophet Muhammad during a class on freedom of expression. So yeah, that was some stuff that happened. Let's go back to the States. Let's get back to America. My home, my place of origin. Let's see here. I said I was going to talk about some senators, so we're going to talk about some motherfucking senators of the corrupt variety. I mean, who isn't these days? But you know what I mean. From CBS News, George Santos charged with conspiracy, wire fraud, and more. I believe the grand total for him now is 23 charges, so he's got a lot to beat back. Embattled New York Representative George Santos was indicted on new federal charges on Tuesday in a superseding indictment, including conspiracy, wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, and credit card fraud, just days after his former campaign treasurer pleaded guilty and admitted to much of the conduct, according to court documents. Let's see here. We did talk about Nancy Marks, which I would be very surprised if she doesn't wind up being like someone who's going to testify or something like that, because it just seems like she was very hand in hand here, and it just seems so damning, the conversations they've had and things that they were doing together. I'm sure on top of any other things that they might have, just that he's done solo. But the new charges included the superseding indictment, unsealed Tuesday, also include fresh allegations that Santos used individuals' personal credit card information to make unauthorized charges in support of his political campaign. The victims, according to the charges, were previous donors to the campaign who had provided their personal information when contributing funds to Santos. So essentially, he literally gave these people, or people gave this man an inch, and he ran miles with it. In one instance, the court documents unsealed Tuesday revealed Santos allegedly racked up $15,800 in charges on a contributor's credit card, a sum far higher than federal campaign laws permit. The donor did not know of or authorize charges exceeding such limits. Also, Santos thought he was really clever sometimes too with how he was spending campaign money and stuff like that. I believe that there were certain situations where it's like, hey, you can spend it, but you can't spend on anything beyond $200. And he would cue it in $199. And he would just do this time and time and time and time again. There was no tact here. He just thought oh, I'm just going to meet it. No one's going to ever come sniffing around as long as I meet the parameters, and we're going to be fine. It's crazy. But, he is saying he's going to fight this to the bitter end. Let's see here. I did want to read a little bit more here. Investigators allege that Santos, Marks, and others were aware in 2021 of a $250,000 fundraising threshold that the campaign had to meet to qualify for the Republican Party backing. We're going to do this a little differently. I got it, Santos allegedly said in text messages, responding to questions about the funding qualifications, court documents reveal, and subsequently hatched a plan with Marks to falsely claim that 10 donors, including some of his family members, contributed thousands of dollars to his campaign, when in fact they had not. He was just going to fake it till he made it. This was his just all-American strategy. He thought he was just going to puff himself up and be too big to fail, and I hate to say it, but it worked. It shouldn't have. There should have been some kind of vetting, and there was, but at the end of the day, people were like, well, I'm not going to bring it up if they're not going to bring it up. It's not going to benefit us. This guy winds up winning, and then now everyone's like, wait a second, hold up, what's going on here? And here we are. So, This was a, big update I wanted to cover. Also, apparently he got into a kerfuffle also this week. He was like, because we've talked about him being Jewish. There were some pro-Palestinian people, in the hallway. He was like yelling at them. They were yelling back. Whole thing. Apparently there was like a mystery baby in the kerfuffle that he was holding. My man is keeping it juicy. He's keeping it mysterious, vampy even. I don't know. But, I love to cover this guy, and we will see, how that trial's going to unfold when it happens. But, apparently we're just stacking on to the case before we even walk into the kitchen. So, that's not good. It's not good for our, our young Santos. All right, but from the young to the old, from the Republican to the Democrat, let's talk about Senator Menendez. From the Associated Press, Senator Menendez is accused of being an unregistered agent of Egypt's government in an updated indictment. So, more cases or more crimes stacking onto the jacket, or should I say in the jacket if we're talking about Menendez's gold bars. U.S. Senator Bob Menendez before I miss this, because this is important. It is important to me. How we talked about previously with Menendez, he had hundreds of thousands of dollars and gold bars like stashed in his jacket. He just had this shit just tucked away. He did have an excuse for that, by the way, that I failed to mention and I did want to talk about now. His defense was, well, you see, I'm Cuban. From a Cuban family, we came from Cuba, we fled, and we were always, really concerned about money, and always, we needed to hide it and keep it safe. So, like, it's a little bit of that. So essentially, he's trying to make you, like, feel bad. Like, you're persecuting me for being Cuban in my Cuban ways. And it's like, bro, you left before the revolution even fucking happened. So what the fuck are you talking about? But like, okay, all right, we gotta let you cook. Hey, you beat the case one time, well, you're gonna beat it again. All right. So I did think that was funny. I just wanted to cover that because it just fucking, it floored me. You're hating me because I'm Cuban? I just like gold. I like keeping it safe. I'm Cuban. You're being very racist. I thought that was wild as hell. The U.S. Senator Bob Menendez of New York was charged Thursday with conspiring for years to act as an agent of the Egyptian government while he held a powerful role in shaping U.S. foreign policy, putting the Democrat in deeper legal trouble as he continues to reject calls to resign. He's not fucking leaving. Let's see here. The new charges come weeks after Menendez and his wife were accused of accepting bribes of cash, gold bars, and a luxury car from 3 New Jersey businessmen who wanted the senator's help and influence over foreign affairs. Now, I really didn't realize until kind of as I was putting this episode together how important the fucking car was. And also, there was some other news that kind of hit, I want to say maybe last week or whatever. I wasn't sure if I was going to cover it because it felt like old side news. But it is pertinent to this, and I'm realizing, like I said, how pertinent it is. But I'm going to, just cue this for reference from CNN. Nadine Menendez, who is obviously Bob's wife, hit and killed pedestrian in 2018 car referenced in federal indictment. So this car was a Mercedes, and essentially Nadine needed a new Mercedes. And I gotta say, this whole thing is episode worthy in and of itself. What happens here? Essentially Richard Koop, 49 years old. He was jaywalking, and he winds up, on the hood of Nadine's car. He's dead. That's, obviously very unfortunate. But this whole thing feels very loose. It feels like they didn't really maybe do due diligence. Maybe this is just me being a bit speculative here. But they said, oh, well, she's not drunk. She doesn't look drunk, so we can't really make her do a sobriety test or anything like that. She says, and more or less her defense was, I was just driving the speed limit, which is, it's alleged or whatever. And he jumps out and hits the car. And it's like, okay, I already hate that because no one in there, unless they were trying to die, like you're already hyperbolizing or whatever. You're exaggerating the situation. You can just tell, like, but whatever. I get it. You're not trying to fucking take the heat here. But I think it's, according to the dash cam, she sat in her car while this guy just there dead. So that's awkward. That's a little cringe. But yeah, she beat this case. But anyway, she was out of car. And essentially, that's what this plan was kind of for. And this is why Menendez kind of was like, well, I mean, I did just beat the case. So maybe what's another move? What's another move for my baby? I don't know. Let's see here. The new indictment says a conspiracy occurred from January of 2018 to June of 2022, alleging that Menendez promised to take and took a series of acts on behalf of Egypt, including on behalf of the Egyptian military and intelligence officials. He conspired to do this with his wife, Nadine, and an associate and fellow defendant, Will Hanna. According to the indictment, Will Hanna and Nadine Menendez also communicated requests and directives from Egyptian officials to Menendez. Another thing I failed to mention was the way they corresponded was very funny. Like, it was like through these encrypted text messages or whatever. Also, I believe, we did talk about Nadine's side job, which was like more or less a no work situation. But then, essentially through all the grifting or whatever, she's able to, or Hannah, Menendez, whatever, they're able to get this whole halal monopoly off the ground, which I think is one of those things that winds up kind of setting this, like, a lot of alarm bells off, because there were competing contractors for this business in Egypt, and they're like, this is actually a problem. Like, we don't just mean a problem for us, but like, this is going to fluctuate the market in a way that's very bad and only going to make prices rise, and that's not good. That's not what anyone wants. And so that was part of what Menendez was like having to do, is like set this up and then also put out all the fires. But like, they would have this correspondence that was encrypted, and they'd be like, hey, so you got to do this. You got to go talk to these people. And he's like, all right, I got it. You're on it. But then, like, if it was like Nadine and Menendez talking, they'd do their little talk and they'd be like, okay, so like, thumbs up. Well, if they were talking to them, like, they might get it, like, they would tell them, the Egyptian people, authorities, whatever, what they're doing, they might just give them a thumbs up, like, cool, all right, you got it. But if it was the two of them talking, Nadine and Menendez, they'd say, okay, what they got to do, what's the move, what's the vibe, what's the operation, and then they'd be like talking about what food they were gonna get. It's like, that's just weird to have that all in the same like line. Like, I don't know, I would take that off of that and go to the normal chat. Like, hey, what do we want for what do you want for dinner, babe? I don't know, that's just me. I've never grifted that hard. Let's see here. What else did I really want to cover from this? I know that there is calls for him to resign from, let's see here, John Fetterman, and I missed the whole thing of Fetterman. I know we're doing a lot of tangents today, but, Fetterman, they essentially try to be accommodating for him and be like, hey, we're going to eliminate the whole suit rule thing. And then people were so up in arms about this. People tweeting their fucking asses off about candor, and even Ron DeSantis tried to get some fucking points. A fucking loser. It's silly as hell. But essentially, Chuck Schumer defended it, then kind of about-faced, I think, or whatever. I think it was just like, okay, well, we're fine. You gotta wear a suit. Cool, whatever. But I don't know. What is it? Schumer's in a weird spot because he's doing the game where he's not trying to expel him. I feel like he could. But essentially the numbers are razor thin. You need all the people. So in this way, in this regard, I do see Democrats playing team sports, and I guess, like, bravo, thank you for playing the game enough. Not to say that I'm rooting for Menendez to beat the case. I want him to go to jail. It's crazy you grift like this, like, not once but twice, motherfucker. What the fuck? I don't like democracy that much. But yeah, we'll see how things go. We'll see how this case goes. This seems pretty airtight. I feel like they are shooting not to miss here. They got the receipts to prove it. And I mean, there's more here. I really don't want to get too bogged down. So yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to the next story. We have those, two for reference. But yeah, we're going to talk about some Microsoft Activision. And then I'll let you go for the day. But you know me, I'm gonna take my break. I didn't do it at the top. We at least gotta make it for it now. Of course. Oh yeah. Okay. Our last story comes from The Verge. Microsoft's Activision Blizzard deal approved by UK regulators. Ooh. Ooh. Microsoft's $68.7 billion deal to acquire Activision Blizzard has been approved by UK regulators. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority, or CMA, has concluded that the deal can proceed after Microsoft recently restructured the deal to transfer cloud gaming rights for current and new Activision games to Ubisoft. The decision clears the way for the deal to close now. The UK regulator has given the green light. So this is a big deal. I feel like we've been tracking this for a while now. I gotta say, like, I kind of have like a muted response to it. I think it's good that they made the tweaks, but to me, this still feels like a monopoly move, and I still feel like down the road, the concerns like that the FTC was still like, kind of mounting, even though they did fail. Like, I still feel like they're gonna have this ironclad kind of stasis, and they're gonna be able to change things as they want, and you won't be able to stop it. And you're gonna have to like break it up. But I do think that them being smart about it, saying, hey, we're going to be accommodating. We're going to say, hey, this cloud gaming, you don't feel comfortable with it? We'll give it over to Ubisoft. Let them have it, have their thing, and that'll work, I guess. I don't know. I'm not enough of an economist to really, stake my opinion and say this is how it should be. I feel blah. But it's definitely an interesting development. I think it's big news for the Call of Duty, situation with Xbox and stuff like that. Let's see here. I know, you get all of the games that are from Blizzard. You get all the little Candy Crush situations, stuff like that. So I imagine the MOBA thing, which, it's a big part of maybe with the cloud gaming. I don't know. I truly am just sadly not gaming enough. I'm not in the gamer sphere as much as I, used to be. But that being said, this is, like I said, a big development, a big game changer, to say from the quotes. But yeah, that's the news, I think, more or less. I feel like we can leave it there. I feel good about that. Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do have to shill a little bit, though. Just a pequeño amount. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. If you'd like to help out the effort, support the podcast. You become a newsie. I shout you out at the top of the month. And then also free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. And then I'm on all the socials. Feel free to find me or the podcast there. Please subscribe to the YouTube. Helps out a lot. Thumbs up. Help out a lot. Also, comments are always cool. And then, please leave a little 5-star review or whatever if that's available. Those are always neat. Those are cool things. I like seeing that. But yeah, that's the episode. Hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.